In this video, we're going to be covering the biggest mistakes that I see people making in the Portuguese property market. My name is Russell and I am the founder of Portugal Buyers. We're an exclusive buyers agency here in Portugal that works with expats from all over the world. So I know exactly the mistakes that people make when purchasing property. And trust me, some of them can be very costly, time consuming and stressful. So definitely stay until the end of the video so you can be fully prepared. So if you've come to Portugal and fallen in love with it and you're ready to pull the trigger and looking to purchase a property here, well, the first thing you're probably going to do is type on Google for properties in Portugal. And you may come across sites like Idealista, Supercasa and many other real estate portals. Now these portals have thousands and tens of thousands of listings on them, which is fantastic to get a gauge for what the market is, for what property prices are in the certain location you're looking to purchase. But these are unregulated. It's not like the MLS in the States or the UK. They have a very similar kind of system there. This is unregulated and anyone can post on these portals. So it can be a normal person that owns a property, it can be a scam listing, or it can be a real estate agent. So do not fully trust these portals. Now, if you do reach out to one of these agents through these portals, they will be getting in contact with you constantly. So if you reach out to 10 different properties, you're probably going to be speaking with 10 different agents and you're going to be getting messages and calls from them all the time, which is just hassle-some and you do not want to go through that. So be very cautious and use these portals to understand the market, but it is much more efficient to have a single point of contact, so one agent that you're working with that knows the market and can set you up with many different agents through that. And quick note, be careful of scam listings. There are many real estate agents that are phishing on there. So they have a property which sold many years ago, which is completely under market value, just trying to get your contact information. This is very common and you'll come across this all the time on portals such as Idealista. Another thing that happens is there are completely false listings by unregulated entities such as a random person who's just trying to get either your information or trying to get you to put a deposit on the property entirely remotely. So be very cautious of these scams and make sure that you do not pay anything over the internet on these portals. So the next very big and costly mistake is not working with a lawyer or a specific real estate lawyer. So you may have a lawyer that did and handled your visas coming in, an immigration lawyer, and they say they can do property on the side and they understand a little bit about it. Now this can cause you a big problem in the long run, as you really want to partner with someone that specifically knows every single detail about law regarding property here in Portugal, as it does get quite complicated. When you are looking at properties and you're thinking about potentially buying an apartment, for example, they're going to have to look through all the history of that property, the condominium, everything that happened within there, all the complaints, everything, and so much more. And everything is, of course, in Portuguese, so it's very difficult if you're not a native Portuguese speaker to look through all of this and to understand what exactly is necessary as well and what seems in line with, that's reasonably okay. So to be safe, definitely get a lawyer representing your interests as the buyer and not having an affiliation with the seller as well. So be careful of this and use a specialized lawyer. One thing I highly suggest before going on any tours or before you're about to pull the trigger on the property of your dreams is make sure you're fully set up. That means with your visa, with your NIF, which is your fiscal number here, your bank account, and much more. So you need to be fully set up, prepared, so you can really pull the trigger quickly on that perfect property, because if it is really a gem, then they're probably going to have other viewings set up and maybe somebody else is going to snag that before you can, because you have to go through all the administration and bureaucracy just to be able to put an offer on that property. So make sure you're fully set up and organized before going on those viewings. Following on from that is you need to be patient during the process. This is in the very beginning with getting your visas. That can take a while. Then putting an offer on the property, waiting between the promissory contract, which is the CPCV, to the deed, can sometimes take a few months depending on the seller's situation. So there are many things that can delay the process, and just be patient and understand that these things take time. As soon as you have bought your property and moved to Portugal, or you've done an investment, then you'll understand that you don't have to deal with this bureaucracy and administration anymore, really not on a regular basis whatsoever. So it doesn't affect your life. So this is just the beginning part, and it can take time. Unfortunately, Portugal is quite slow with these things, as many other countries are. But yeah, you just have to deal with it and bite your tongue during the process and just understand that it takes time, but good things do take time. So the next point can save you a lot of money, and this is not negotiating on the property enough. Many expats who aren't using the right real estate agent and aren't getting the representation fully on their side are not saving enough in the negotiation process, especially now as buyers have slowed down a little bit compared to the height in 2022. And it's a bit more of an even market, not quite as much as the seller's market, so they are looking to offload the properties so that you can actually get a fantastic negotiation on the property, saving potentially 10, even 20%. And I'm seeing many buyers coming here and really not negotiating very much and thinking that's the final price that they've got listed. So you can save a lot of money during the negotiation process. One of the biggest reasons that people don't is because they're using a dual agent, which represents both the seller and the buyer, and the real estate agent that's representing you isn't actually trying to get you the best price. They're actually paid fully on commission, so they want the highest price for the property. So that causes a bit of a conflict of interest there, but we'll get into that in a little bit. One thing that I find absolutely necessary is getting a licensed inspection done by a professional. Now, many real estate agents and people do not do this, and it is fundamental in my opinion. We do it for each and every single one of our clients. The reason this is so important is because if you're purchasing a property which is 20 years old, even 5 years old, for example, there may be some issue with the plumbing, or the construction work wasn't done so well, they cut costs here or there. And you want someone to come in to understand and see all the piping, the plumbing, the electrical works, and much more. So you don't run into a money pit, because fixing these problems can cost a lot of money and it doesn't actually increase the value of the property. Now, if it is redoing a kitchen or remodeling a bathroom, that can add value to the property, and it's just a small cosmetic change, but makes a massive difference to the appearance. Whereas fixing a plumbing issue or a borehole issue where you get your water from are major fixes, but do not add value to the property if you didn't know about it beforehand. So make sure that you do have that license inspection done by a professional. Something that I have seen all too often throughout my career is people not doing enough of an area tour around the properties that they're viewing. So if you're viewing a fantastic property that you have fallen in love with, make sure that you do explore the area for an hour and a half, so you understand what's around it, what supermarkets, restaurants, schools, and much more, so you can really get a feeling of what it's like to live there, because that is going to be your life for the most part. When you go outside the house, that's what you're going to be using and being within most of the time. So if you're close to the fantastic promenade of Lisbon, then that's beautiful, because you're going to be able to use it all the time. But let's say you're not, and you're surrounded by many different buildings, there's not much around, there's no restaurants in close vicinity, no cafes, then your quality of life there might not be as high. So make sure that you do understand the area and not just looking at the house or apartment specifically. And on that point, another quick thing to consider is if you are purchasing in a city, then make sure you are considering the parking possibilities. If your building has underground parking, then that is fantastic. But if it doesn't, and you're in the very central part of Lisbon or Porto or Faro, then you're going to want to make sure there's parking nearby, and that's very easy to access, and you can always have a space there. Because obviously if you want to own a car and you're in these very condensed areas, then parking is a big pain. So make sure you are asking that question every time you're on the viewing. Another thing that is fundamental for pulling the trigger quickly on your property, if you found that property of your dreams, is getting your mortgage pre-approved. Now, the mortgage process can take anywhere between a week and a half to 4 weeks or even longer. So you want to make sure that you have that pre-approved and you know the budget that you're working with as well. Typically, you're going to have to put down 20 at the minimum, normally 30% at the minimum, especially as a foreigner coming in to Portugal. to be able to get your property financed. So make sure you get that pre-approved to know exactly the budget you're working with, so you're not viewing properties that are way outside of your budget and then you end up having to go through that process of 4 weeks to find out that it's not even eligible. Another problem that you're going to have is that, let's say you find that property of your dreams and you don't have that pre-approval, you're going to have to wait potentially a month to get the mortgage pre-approval, and somebody might have already bought that property in that time and you might lose out on an incredible find. So make sure that you are pre-approved and you're ready to go ahead with that property purchase. And on that point, definitely work with a mortgage broker, as their services are free and they'll go to many different banks for you throughout Portugal to find you the best rate on your mortgage, and they'll be your single point of contact to streamline the entire process. We can set you up with one if you are interested, but yeah, definitely use a mortgage broker for your mortgage in Portugal. Another very, very important thing for purchasing a property, in our opinion, is using a buyer's agent. A buyer's agent is somebody that works solely for you, the buyer, and has no attachment to the seller whatsoever. Now, normally in Portugal, you work with dual agents, which represents the seller and the buyer, and this causes a massive conflict of interest, and the buyer loses out, which is you. Because, for example, during the negotiation process, when you go to view that property with your dual agent, they'll know exactly how excited you are about that property. They know that you've fallen in love with it and that you'll pay the high ticket price that they're asking. And they won't negotiate that high on your behalf because, of course, they get paid on commission, as I mentioned before. So make sure that you are going to save in that part with a buyer's agent, and also a buyer's agent is going to be your single point of contact. When you go and reach out to many, many different sellers agents, then they're always going to be getting in contact with you and they're going to be showing you different properties and sending you different properties all the time, wasting a lot of your time. Whereas with a buyer's agent, they'll be a single point of contact, getting in touch with all of these different agents, setting everything up with you from A to Z. So all the viewings, scheduling them all in, helping you with getting there and doing all the administration of that. So if you are interested in a service like that, then we are an exclusive buyers agency called Portugal Buyers. You can click the first link in the description below to book a free call with us. It's completely complimentary, so you lose nothing out, and we'll explain our services, how we can help you from the very beginning to the end, and much, much more. So if you are interested in that, click that first link in the description. I look forward to seeing you there, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.